are tuned into the greatest. Turn the music up in the headphones. So you can go and brush your shoulders off. I got you. Yeah, if you feeling like a pimp, go and brush your shoulders off. Ladies is pimps too, go and brush your shoulders off. Crazy baby, don't forget that boy told you kid. Turn up your shoulders for probably you with the y'all.
Alright, I just thought it was fitting to play that song. We're going to go over GCF. GCF just stands for Greatest Common Factor. So all that's saying is what do all the terms have in common. So I'm going to do an example. Let's go with 21 b to the fourth h to the fifth minus 49 b squared h cubed plus 7 b to the seventh h to the second. Alright, so we talk about greatest common factor. We talk about, if I just look at the numbers, what is the biggest number that goes in every single one. So 21 is 7 and 3, 49 is 7 and 7, and 7 is 7 times 1. So in this case, the number that all have in common is a 7. So I'm going to take out a 7, and then I'm going to look at b's. I have b to the fourth, b squared, b to the seventh. It's kind of like if you go out to lunch with your friends, and you have $5, your friend has $10, and the other friend has $100, but you want to be even or nice, you're only all going to pay $5. You don't want, yes, if I was going with my friend and he had $100, he was paying the meal and I wasn't going to pay anything. But that's just because that's me. So that's going to be b squared, and the biggest h of them in common is squared as well. And so now we're saying, what do I have left from each term? So I'll have 3 b squared h cubed minus 7 h plus b to the fifth. And that is my answer. Greatest common factor, we're talking about just what do they all have in common. So I'm going to put a problem up. Y'all are going to do it. And then I'll write down the answer. So 21 a squared c plus 3c squared b minus 15 abc minus 6ac squared. Alright, pause it. I want y'all to do it and go from there. Alright, so your answer should have been 3C is the only thing you could have taken out. Yes, that has an A, that's got an A, and that has an A. But since my 3C squared B does not have an A, I can't pull out an A. So that's basically all we're doing. Alright, next thing we're going to get into is actual factoring. So, for example, if I had x squared plus 5x plus 6. Alright, for us, for how we're going to factor, is I'm going to set up two parentheses. Alright, when we talk about FOILing, we talk about when we multiply those two terms. When we multiply those two terms, FOIL stands for first, we multiply our first terms, that's always going to give me this term here. Well, what times what is going to give me x squared? X times x. Alright, the last two terms that I multiply, we'll do pink, or purple. That's going to give me my last term here, which is a positive 6. So, that there, the plus 6 says that I'm going to list my factors of 6. So 3 and 2, 6 and 1. If that is a plus sign, we're talking about adding. Which ones can I add together to give me my middle term? Well, the simple term is that it's going to be not 6 and 1, it's going to be 3 and 2. So 2 and 3. Since this is a plus sign, well, it's going to be a plus and plus. If Alright, write this down. These are two different examples. So guys, if this is ever a plus, that means when I factor it, I'm going to have two of these same signs. So when I factor it, it's going to factor into x plus some number, x plus some number. So we'll call it n. If it's a plus and there's a minus sign here, that means I'm adding two negative numbers to get my middle term. So it's going to be x minus some number and x minus some number. So if this is a plus, my signs when I factor are going to be the exact same. And I'm going to add up my middle terms to find my last term. If it is the opposite though, if it is x squared, I didn't do the squared on the other one. We'll call it xn or nx. I don't like that. If it has a minus sign on the end, doesn't matter what those signs are, it's going to be x minus some number and x plus some number. So if it's a minus sign, because we multiply the last two numbers to get my c, it's going to be a negative times a positive to get there. Alright? So we're going to do 3 more examples and we're going to get into a little bit harder. So if I have x squared minus 7x plus 6. Alright, so once again, guys, in my head, I'm going to say that's a plus sign, meaning that I'm going to have the same signs. Since that's a negative sign, I know that's going to be minus minus. Now, I'm going to say my first two terms, if I multiply them, I want it to get me to x squared. So what times what gives me x squared? X times x. I'm going to list my factors of 6, 6 and 1, 3 and 2. If I add 3 and 2 up, it's going to give me 5. If I add that up, it's going to give me 7. So my answer is going to be 6 and 1. Alright, I'm going to give one, and y'all are going to do it, and then we're going to jump into something else. So x squared minus x minus 6. If you want to, you can put a placeholder of a 1 there, but I want you to do it. So pause it and work the problem. Alright, for your answer, you should have gotten x minus 3, x plus 2. The reason why it's negative, when I multiply here, it's going to give me a negative 3x. When I multiply here, that's going to give me a positive 2x. That's going to give me a negative 1x. If you want to check to find your middle term, you're always going to multiply your inner and outer terms to figure out what that's going to give me. Alright, so I'm going to do a harder problem now. When we talk about a harder problem, all that changes is that it turns into 5x squared minus 13x plus 6. So the only thing that makes it harder is my first term is no longer x squared. So meaning when I factor this, I'm going to say what times what gives me 5x squared. Well, my only options are 5 and 1. So that means automatically this is a 5x, that is a 1x. Here, it's a plus sign, and that's a negative, meaning my signs are going to be the same. So this is going to be a minus, minus. And from here, I'm going to say what times what gives me 6. So my options are 3 and 2 and 6 and 1. And I got to figure out how I'm going to multiply those terms and these terms to get to 13. So this is called the guess and check method. So I'm going to guess 3 is going to go there and 2 is going to go there. And now I'm going to check my work. So I'm going to multiply 2 times x. That gives me a negative 2x. Now I'll multiply 5x times negative 3. That's going to give me negative 15. Well, what do I notice? Now when I add those, because that is a plus sign, I'll be adding, that's going to give me 17x. That is not negative 13. So I am wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, let's try and switch the 3 and 2 and see what happens. So I'm going to switch the 3 and 2, and that's going to be a 2 and a 3, and that's going to be negative 3x minus 10x, which is going to give me 13x. And so that is the right answer. That works out, and that's my answer. So that is all it is. I'm going to make another video of more working through these kind of problems. If you want to watch it, be my guest. If not, that is all that you need to watch. Have a great night.